to show you how to use how to consume an API. So we're going to have to use a method fetch to fetch the API. So I'm still using the same project, as you can see. So yeah, so I'm going to display the data here, the one that we want to fetch here, and then yeah, let's get started and then fetch the data and display it here. So I have already created a functional component here. So I'm going to create a functional component here to fetch data. So first of all, we need to import React and then import. We're going to use state. We're going to use state to update, to grab the API JSON data. So I'm going to use state, and then I'm going to use function effect from React. Then I'm going to create a function called API data. Then let's export our API data. Default API data. Now we have exported it, and then function must return something. So now we have a function there, and then now let's go and call it inside here. It's gonna be API data and import. So now we have imported the API data. There is this, and then we have a functional component here. So let's close this and then do this. Put this side, and then we have this side. So we can go ahead and say display list of items. Display a list of items, and then we can make it page 4 just to be smaller. Display list of items. We're going to display list of items there. So now let's go. There's this website which is API to get free APIs. So you just choose which one you want to use from here. So you can just pick any API that you would like to use. Top 5 entertainment APIs, YouTube, blah blah, a lot of APIs. So I'm going to utilize the university list, which is USA. I'm not sure if they have South Africa. Let me see. South. Okay, let me try. South plus Africa. Okay, good. We have API for universities in South Africa. So we're gonna copy it. Copy this link. This is the JSON data that we need to render. The JSON data. So now let's go and say we want to fetch that data and display the list of universities here. So we can go and say we have a div class name, just like this. So this will be inside here. But first of all, let's create a variable to contain the data, which you can call it data, then set data equals to use state. So our use state is going to be an array. Then now let's create a function to call our API. This is a function to call that API. So we're going to create a function. We're going to call it this is a use effect, and then we will have it like this. Then our function, we want to fetch data now. So we're going to use fetch, and then we pass the API inside here. Then now this API returns a promise. So therefore we need to have then, and then our then will return results, which is a response from the API. So then inside here we can say console.log result.json, because we want a JSON data. So remember, this is a JSON data. It's a JSON data. So it must return this information. So meaning we must go here and say return result.json. So it must return the JSON data, just like this. Then now we can go ahead and say then data. Then we can say console.log data. Failed to execute JSON on a response body stream already read. JSON data. Then we can go say this is the result that we need. This is the returned result that we need. You can see here it's returned. So we need this data. It's here. So it's returned. This is the data we need. So we are fine now. So you can see the result. Country. Inside here we have code, country, domain, and then name, state, province, web page. So these are the data that you can use to display here. So we're going to display this data right here. So now let's continue coding, and now we want to say we want to catch. We say catch, and then we catch an error if something is happening, like it fails to connect to the API. So we must get a message respond that there's an error occurred. So we must return this to grab what the error message. Then you can add finally here. So finally is just for the extra. If you want to grab, you want to show that indeed your API has done running in the background. So you can just write done. Then it will show that indeed the API is successfully run. So we can go and say okay, indeed the API call has been successfully done here. So now we grabbed the data. We are fine. This is all that you need to grab the data from a third-party API. So now we want to save this right here. So this I already shared a video on how to use it. I stayed to update this. It's a variable that is an array which will contain the variables that we're going to push inside it. So we're going to use what? Set data. So we're going to use what inside here? Set data. Then we pass data. So now there you have it. So we passed this. That means this now will contain this data. So now you can go and use this anywhere you want, or you can come here and say you want to test it and see indeed the data has been saved inside a new variable that you did. So you can go here and say this. Then now we're going to use this to display on the console to make sure that indeed the data has been saved inside the new variable, which is an array. Our array contains what? Objects. So it's an array of object. You can see it's there. You can see it's doing multiple times, keeps on updating. So to avoid this, we just need to go here and say we want this array to render once, not many times. So it will only run once. So this is it. It won't run as many times as you want. So now to display it, as we all know, to display the array, we're gonna use a map function. So we're going to say data dot map, and then action, then we display a list of items. So we're going to check the values from the console. Which values are those? So currently what we have here, we have alpha code, country, name. So I'm going to display the country and the name. So we're going to say here action dot country. So we're displaying what? The country, which you can see this is the list of the country, which is South Africa. And then now we're going to say comma, then we display action dot name. So now we display the university names. So you can see we have South Africa, what. So, but we can just remove this since we don't want it, and then remove, and then now only remain with the list of universities in South Africa. So this is how you can achieve this by using the fetch method to fetch the API. So you can continue and you fetch these domains, anything that you want to fetch from here. And then for styling, we all know how to use the styling, and then you can go ahead and style the things nicely. So yeah, that's it for me. That's the only thing that I wanted to show you. So next topic, we're going to use the put, where you're going to update your API using this method. So thank you so much.